Hey, good afternoon, good day, good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching this. I forget that everybody's watching it whenever. We're doing it live. It's afternoon. It's Monday, and we're going to talk a little Breeders' Cup. I'm gonna bring on an expert here, as you guys have seen me before, and you know that horse racing kind of a fun thing to watch. I'll occasionally dip my toe in the water, but I'm going to have a cat on here that jumps in head to toe into the water, no matter how cold it is, no matter how warm it is. He's jumping right in. He's Aaron Halterman from the Racing Dudes, and this is the first of 4 videos we're going to make. Aaron, we're going to talk about 4 of the races at the upcoming Breeders' Cup this weekend. I'm excited to do it. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. I'm excited to be on. I know probably a lot of your sports fans got into racing during the COVID time because that was kind of all there was. But
Right.
yeah, we're still going strong over here on this side of it, and yeah, looking forward to it.
I know, like a lot of sports bettors, we kind of get excited with the Kentucky Derby. It's in May. There's not a lot going on. Basketball's kind of winding down. It's baseball. There's no football. But all of a sudden, we get the Breeders' Cup in the fall. You've got the NFL, you got college football, you got basketball, you got hockey. So all of a sudden, for a guy like me, you go, "Oh my God, that's this weekend." So I'm anxious to try to play catch up here a little bit. So yeah, let's just get right to it. Um, Before we get to it, can you tell the fans how you see the race shaping up, like from a pace perspective, and again, how do you see things coming into the far turn there?
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting one because the number 3 Cave Rock is certainly the horse to beat in this spot. And he also was the fastest horse in the race early on. And so he's really going to kind of dictate things up front. I don't see a really fast pace in this race. He seems to kind of be faster than everybody else in this group. And that's going to make it pretty difficult for everybody else. Cave Rock is a horse trained by Bob Baffert. No stranger to, even the casual fan is going to know who Bob Baffert is.
Controversy, no stranger to controversy.
That is more true probably than what I even said, but I try to put it lightly. But you're right. He certainly. Well, let's just put it this way: this horse won't run under his name next year in the Kentucky Derby if he makes it. So we could leave it at that. But as how the race sets up, Cave Rock looks to be the one that's going to be loose on the lead and the one they're going to have to run down.
And he's a massive favorite right now. I've got him as a 4-5 favorite. So obviously, that's probably not going to be where the majority of the value is. So is it that much of a lock that it's going to be Cave Rock, and you don't really see any other guys? And of course, we'll talk long shot here
Yeah.
in a minute. But once they go past that far turn, they're coming down the lane. Is there anybody that's got the closing speed? Is there anybody that can come from off the pace to catch him down the home stretch?
Probably not to win. I think he is a pretty much one of your biggest cinches to win at this Breeders' Cup. It may be the most likely winner of the whole Breeders' Cup. Now, we'll talk about long shots in a second. I've got a couple that we can use in the second spot to make, the exacta pay pretty well. As far as playing a win in this race, I don't know how you're going to get around Cave Rock. This is probably just a situation where you have to choke down a little bit of a shorter price on your win wagers, but then try to make a little bit of money on the exacta.
So pretty much all the exotics should have him wheeled at the top, is what
Yes.
you're saying. Okay.
Yep. No doubt.
All right, very good. So, if you only had $20, and I know probably there's a lot of people out there that maybe they haven't done well in the early races. Maybe $20 is all they have. If you got the $20, you want that big payoff. Other than wait till another race, do you have a piece of advice here on a long shot?
Yeah, I think you got to play this race with a straight exacta. And I think Cave Rock is the horse, like you said. Put him in that first spot and forget about it. I think he's going to run away with this thing. I would look towards his stablemate, National Treasure, in this spot to kind of be that horse to get up for a little bit of value here. He's 8-1 right now on the morning line. I think he might float up to about 10-1. A lot of reason why he got beat pretty handily by Cave Rock last time out, but he still ran very well, and he got a speed figure that's bigger than any other horse in the race other than Cave Rock. So a lot of times I think a horse like that who got beat 5 or 6 lengths, people look at it and say, yeah, I don't want to bet him this time around. He may very well be the second best 3 or 2-year-old coming into this race. He's just the unfortunate, incident of, hey, he's had to face Cave Rock. So I really like the stablemate National Treasure in second. I think that'll be a pretty good exacta to play in this one.
All right, very good. It sounds like there's still some value there. And is it too early to start looking at these horses as Kentucky Derby contenders? Like, where else will I understand juvenile? Is that 2 years would be the cutoff there?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Much like 3 years is for the Triple Crown horses.
Yep.
And is there other juvenile races that will also play into who's going to be contenders next season, or are we really seeing the best of the best in this race?
Yeah, I mean it's a mixed bag sometime. This year with a horse like Cave Rock, I think you can start making those plans. He looks well above and beyond everybody else right now. But this is just step one in many steps to the Kentucky Derby. Now, this is the first big one for sure, but then the action really heats up next year when they turn 3. It's the biggest race for 2-year-olds, though. We've seen horses win this race and go on to win the Kentucky Derby. A horse named Nyquist in 2015 when the Breeders' Cup was at Keeneland a few years ago, was able to win this race and then go on to win the Kentucky Derby. So it can happen. And when you have a horse like Cave Rock, obviously the expectations are pretty high that he's going to be a big time contender coming out of this race.
Was Nyquist the one that was kind of owned by some frat brothers, or there was like a group of young guys from work, or it was a great story. They bought him for virtually nothing in today's horse racing terms, right?
Yeah, yep. They had a big conglomerate, and there was a bunch of people in on it. One owner had kind of the majority of it, but he had several other smaller owners as well. And yeah, it took him on a great ride. Won this Breeders' Cup in 2015, like I said, and then went on and won a couple of races, and then the Kentucky Derby. So yeah, I think he was maybe undefeated 7 or 8 in a row up until the loss in the Preakness that he finally got beat for the first time. But yeah, he was one. He kind of looked very similar to Cave Rock coming into this race in 2015. Looked dominant, came here and won, and just got better and better. And that certainly can happen. Some years the juvenile doesn't produce much, but when you've got a headline horse, they usually end up being a pretty good 3-year-old as well.
Well, and I want you to know, Aaron, I've spent well over 5 or 6 minutes preparing for this, and it was kind of sprung on me late today. I would normally do a little more research, but I do have a couple ones that I want to bounce off of you. Blazing Sevens and Forte. Of course, Forte is the Pletcher horse, and Chad Brown is Blazing Sevens. Anything there for our audience? Anything that catches your eye?
I really like Forte a lot. He's going to be the second choice. So if you're going to play the favorite, it's hard to play the favorite over the second choice and make money. That's why I didn't mention him for the bet. But as far as just a horse in general and his talent level, I think it's pretty strong. He won the local prep race for this at Keeneland. He looked really, really good doing so. He's trained by Todd Pletcher, and he's really developing each race. I don't think he's good enough to beat Cave Rock, but I think he's probably the second best horse in the race. Blazing Sevens coming in for Chad Brown. This horse closed really nicely last time out in the Champagne Stakes at Belmont Park. I thought he ran a really nice race, really improved effort. Only problem is it was over a sloppy track. The race did not come back very fast, and I'm a little bit questionable about, okay, how is he going to look on a dry track? He wasn't very impressive before that race in the Champagne, so I'm kind of a little bit worried that maybe he just took advantage of a sloppy track. He's going to be a decent price. Maybe it's a horse to put in like the 3rd or the 4th spot. I don't think he's actually going to threaten to win in this one.
And is weather going to be a factor? It's out there at Santa Anita. I'm assuming it's going to be sunny Southern California skies. Is there any talk of weather in the forecast?
Well, this one is at Keeneland, actually, but the good news is the weather's going to be perfect. 75 degrees on Friday, 75 degrees on Saturday. At least that's the extended forecast as we sit here on Monday, like you said. So Santa Anita type weather at Keeneland, which is a big break for us because it has been, cold the last couple of times they've had the Breeders' Cup there. As of right now, weather should not play any factor in the races.
Yeah, you start running around the 1st of November in Kentucky, and you're definitely rolling the dice for sure. So.
No doubt.
All right, very good. Well, if you guys enjoy this video, you're going to enjoy the next 3. We're going to talk about 3 of the major races. We're going to cap it off with the Classic, but that's going to do it for the juvenile video. It's one that hits very close to home. Forget that's about the way I feel about half the time anyway. So it's we're gonna have some fun here this afternoon, and then we're gonna have these up for you guys to watch. Any final thoughts on the juvenile, Aaron? Anything to be looking for?
Well, I just think the number 3 Cave Rock is the one to watch. And I think if he gets beat, you're going to see a lot of upset people because I think the majority of the money is going there. It should be going there. Right now, he just looks like head and shoulders the best horse. And we'll see if he can kind of parlay this success into the Kentucky Derby coming up.
All right. Fantastic. That's going to do it for the juvenile for the Breeders' Cup. I'm Scott Steen, and we'll be right back doing our next one. And what are we going to be doing premiering here next? Yeah, I think I would know that. It's going to be the sprint. We're going to talk about the sprint. That's going to be 6 furlongs, right?
Yep.
Look at that. Look at that. My God, showing off my knowledge. All right, guys, we'll be back on that video in just a second. Thanks for watching.